Hey guys, it's BT Delta Fan 101, and today we have an overview of the CBR500R. Now, as you saw in my last video, I used to have the CBR250R, and this is my next model that I have bought. So, like I said, the CBR500R, twice as powerful, twice as big almost. It's definitely a lot bigger, a lot broader than the old 250R. It's a nice bike to ride. You can tell it's a much bigger bike by the back tires. As you can see there, compared to my hand, it's a lot bigger than the old one. The old one I could pretty much just pinch, and that's the rear tires on the CBR250R. So you got a fatter rear tire, you got a fatter front tire as well. That's basically the size of the old rear tire on the 250. So you got more surface area for turning and for gripping the ground. And overall, it's a little bit bigger of a bike, so it's a bit beefier. It looks more like a man's bike now. So that's the 500 from the front. Do a little walk around. As you can see, same. It's got a lot of the same features as the old 250R, like the same lights that stick out like that. They aren't very sleek or anything like that, but they work. They do their purpose. And same on the other side. Light in the front. I believe that's slightly different than the old one. The old one, I'm pretty sure, was like was connected, and you got your low beam light and your high beam light. So. It's overall, it's not too aggressive, but it's enough that it looks cool, and you shouldn't get too bored of it right away. It's a good learner bike. So yeah, same, pretty much the same mirrors on both sides. You can get them adjusted enough so that you can see past your shoulder. I found on the 250R I had a hard time getting them adjusted so that I could see any more than my shoulder when I looked around. This one I find I was able to get a better position on them, I guess. So yeah, here's your front display. That's one thing that's very different about the 500R. I'll turn the bike on, or just turn on the ignition so you can see. So got the key, it's just like any other bike. On, ignition, and you see the display. It goes through its little RPM gauge thing. And as you can tell, we have kilometers an hour, your fuel gauge, you have your RPM gauge, you have a trip meter, you have a clock, and that can be kilometers an hour or miles per hour, which is cool. And you can cycle through. There's trip B. There's liters per 100 kilometers, so kind of how much you're using as you drive. There is average liters per 100 kilometers, which is neat information to know. Then there's liters left in total, I think. And then your total kilometers, which is 1,893 kilometers. So it's pretty neat information on the CBR500. You got your neutral light and all your indicator switches if you ever have anything go wrong with your bike. So it's very cool. Like usual, you have your electric start or electric kill switch. So that's on, that'd be killing it. You have hazard lights on this, which is different from the 250R. You just press it in and it flashes. You have your ignition switch. On this side, you have your high beam, low beam. That's high beam, that's low beam. You have your horn, which is a little beep beep horn. And you have your signal light. And also you have your clutch, which is pretty, got a pretty nice friction point on this bike. It's usually right about there. You don't have to press it in very far, so you can very quickly shift. It's just a vroom vroom, and like, it's very easy to shift on it. You have your front brake lever, rear brake lever on the bottom there, and your shifter lever, I guess you call it. So yeah. That's a little overview of the parts on the bike. If I take the key out of here, you have a little cargo space like the old bike did. Right there, you just put the key in, pop it up, and the seat will pop up, which I'm not going to do because you've probably seen that in my other video. Nothing special, but... fuel tank. Fuel tank definitely holds a lot more than the old one. You're able to get about 400 kilometers to a tank on this, so... I'm not entirely sure what that is in miles, probably like 250 or so, but you can get a lot more kilometers. The my old CBR250R got about 300 kilometers to tank, so it's only about a $20 fill, and it gets you quite far. So it's a pretty damn good commuter bike as well. Same windshield as the old one, very small. Well, not the exact same, but fairly similar. It doesn't really provide much protection against the wind. You're still going to feel the brunt of it, but with the extra weight, you don't get pushed around as much on the road as you used to, which is nice. And it's got a nice fat seat for you to sit on, not uncomfortable. I've done a few hour rides now, and Overall, your butt gets a little sore, but it's a sport bike. It's not like a Harley or anything where you have a nice level seated position, and I don't know, it's definitely a different feel. You do get sore after a while, but overall it's not bad. Yep, there's your passenger foot pegs. You can push them down if you have a passenger with you, and they can hold on to you, or they can hold on to the handles here. And the other side, passenger foot peg, which is really close to the exhaust, which I find silly because the exhaust gets very hot. If that person slips, they're going to feel it. But yeah, that's it. And then speaking of the exhaust, you can see this model, it's a lot bigger than the older model. And it's also silver, shiny silver. Like the old one had like a black cover on it, and this one now is just a big, kind of too big in all honesty. If you can see here, it sticks really far out of the bike, and it just kind of looks wrong. It's also not a very loud exhaust, so you might have issues with people hearing you on the road. So I might be upgrading to some sort of carbon fiber exhaust that makes a bit more noise, but I don't want it to be obnoxiously loud, but I just kind of want to be heard a little bit better. So yeah, it's another look at the bike. Again, it has the really extended down lighting and license plate spot. It might be nice for me to get like the fender eliminator kit at some point, but I don't know, it's personal preference. It's a couple of $100 to buy it, so it's not really on the top of my list. So overall, it's a great bike. Handles very well. It's not much heavier than the CBR 250R. It's about 425 pounds, I believe, and the CBR was about 350, so, or maybe a little under that. So it's not much different. It handles very similar. It's got more power. I was able to get this up to about 180 kilometers an hour, whereas my old bike I got up to about 153, and that was pushing it. So it's got a bit more power. It definitely has a lot more lower end torque, and even at the high end you have room for passing, which is nice. The CBR 250R had a lot less balls when it came to that, so this is definitely a step up, but it's not a super huge increase in power. It's just enough that it's not as scary when you're trying to pass somebody on the highway. So yeah, I guess we'll start it up now and we'll show you how the exhaust sounds. Again, it's not very loud, so it's not super impressive, but it's still cool enough. You can hear it. There you go. Idle's at about 1100. It usually drops down to about 1000 when it's ready. Alright, so we're going to rev it. So yeah, overall, if somebody plans on having this as their first bike, I do recommend it. If you don't feel like you want the 250R because you think you'll outgrow it quickly and you want a bike that will last a little longer, this is definitely the bike to get for you. So if you have any questions, comment on the video, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Definitely think about picking this bike up. I've got a 3-year plan with this, and I probably won't be selling it anytime soon because it's a very nice bike and I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.